stream. First and foremost, before we get started, for those of you that may be tuning in live or either after this goes live and turns into a POV like video, whatever afterwards, whatever YouTube likes to call it after recording, right? And just wonder who the heck is this guy? My name is Griffin Thomas, of course. Name of the channel, right? And I actually own a pest control company, Preferred Pest Management, in the Dallas, Texas area. We've been in business now we're in our fourth year already, about 3.5 years in roughly. And on this channel overall, I just document my overall journey, business journey. Right now, the journey specifically is, of course, growing our pest control business specifically. And apparently a lot of you guys are into that subject. So I talk a lot about just what I do to, grow our business. Right now, we've been kind of breaking through this plateau. Of course, a lot of you guys know my story that I took my business from 0 to 6 figures our first year in business. And, we're just slowly but surely chugging on up to that 500,000 and then 1 million plus, is the goal. Of course, a lot of you guys know that my big goal is to get to at least gross sales of $50 million is the goal. And then to maybe one day cash out the business and then move on to other business ventures later on down the road. And of course, if you're new to my streams, I see we got already about half a dozen of you tuning in. If you're new to the stream, hopping in for the first time and wondering what they're all about, they're mostly just Q&A. Like a lot of times I'll go in with a specific theme that I'll kind of talk about. Sometimes it's Google Ads, sometimes it's different things in the pest control industry, whatever it may be. Usually there's a theme, but sometimes I'll just do these straight up Q&As whenever I just literally go live from my phone. And I find a lot of you guys really like whenever we do that. So if you have any questions or anything, I see we already got a couple of them that some of you guys put in here. Just fire away. And if I don't have an answer for you, then by all means, I'll just be 100% upfront with you and let you know that I do not have an answer for you, but that I'll definitely, look to help you in any way I can. With that, we'll just kind of dive right in. First question here in the comments, or in the chat, I should say, comes from Justin Williams. He says, should I have a collar uniform starting off, or is a custom-made business t-shirt acceptable? This is kind of more so a branding question, in my opinion. Where do you want your brand to go more than anything? Us from day one, I went and bought collar shirts that weren't even labeled. In all honesty, if you go way, way, way back, I might even have a thumbnail of like one of my first pictures that I posted. Shout out to my sister-in-law. Her company's Whitney Dawn Photography. For those of you that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if you ever need a photographer, she helped me with creating just a couple pictures, and literally I had no logo, nothing. It was still presentable, right? Brand new. Red was what I thought our brand was going to be. I thought we were going to be red and black, red and white for a very, very short amount of time, but didn't even have logo. I mean, I literally went and got these shirts from like Kohl's or something. They were on sale because, of course, like I said, most of you all know I started with very, very little money, so I was penny pinching early on because I just lost my job, and I was like, hey, we got to do what we got to do, right? So I had like 3 long sleeve. They had like the 3 buttons similar to this type of shirt, but just a long sleeve version. And it was an athlete. I think it was a sports tech shirt, as a matter of fact. But the whole point is it's like, just do what you got to do. It depends on your situation. If you got money, then by all means, go ahead, figure out what you want your brand to be, and then go ahead and purchase what you need if you got the money, right? But say you're first starting out in your business and, you're like me, where I had like very, very little money, had to penny pinch early on, then, just do what you got to do. As long as you look presentable, right? You don't want to be showing up in some, Coors Light t-shirt or something, right? You want to look presentable, but as you start to progress from there, you really need to start thinking about what you want your brand to be. I even had customers, there's still customers with me to this day that they've kind of seen us evolve in terms of our brand, having the logos on the shirts. Of course, the one time I'm not wearing my business apparel, I actually just got back from church, but they've seen our brand kind of unfold into what it is today. And like I said, that didn't happen overnight. So don't press too much on that. There's other things that are much more important than, your apparel. The main thing is figure out what your color scheme is going to be. That I'll say is very important. Have it match, your business cards, your website, things of that nature. You want to look the same across the board. That way when people look you up, they're not getting confused, right? But as long as you're presentable more than anything, that's all you really need in terms of getting started. And like I said, you can always do what I did, which is, like I said, we literally started with 3 shirts from Kohl's. And then after about 3 to 4, maybe even less, I'd say about 3 months in business, once I could tell, like, okay, we got proof of concept, we got money coming in now month after month after month, and we're growing very rapidly. Then I was like, let's go ahead and get us some embroidered polos, which the company we used for that was, oh my gosh, I can't believe Queensboro. That's right. We've mentioned them a couple times on the channel. Queensboro, they're actually located in DFW. Oddly enough, I didn't even know that. I just noticed my shipments were coming in very quickly compared, because they said usually it's a 2 to 4 week turnaround to get your apparel, and we were getting it in like 5 to 10 days. I was like, man, we're getting our stuff quick. And then I looked them up, and sure enough, they're actually located in Farmers Branch, Texas, which was pretty cool to find out. But back to your question, like I said, it all depends on where you're at. Obviously, you want to keep your branding in mind. That is the most important step when you're getting started, is getting your branding figured out. And then from there, it just depends on the resources you have available. I'm not going to say it's going to make or break your company. Like I said, at the end of the day, just 1, be presentable, obviously, and 2, ideally have your colors across the board. Your shirts matching your website, matching your business card. Like, everything should line up. You shouldn't have green shirts and then a red website and then a pink business card, right? Like, you want everything to be the same across the board. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. Let's see. Rob Williams, got 2 Williams in here. Rob Williams said, of the many ways to grow a pest control business, how sold are you on Google Ads now that you've been doing them for a while? And what would you do differently if you started today? I'm assuming he means what would you do differently? Actually, that question could be one of 2 ways. I'm going to address it from both sides of the coin, because he could mean what would you do differently with the Google Ads versus what would you do differently in terms of growing your business, if you started today. So I'm going to address it from both sides of the coin. So first, we'll fire off with what would I do differently, if I started Google Ads today. What I would do differently is, be more open to getting information from these quote unquote Google ad experts online that maybe aren't in my niche, because I kept searching for specific people that, ran Google ads in our niche specifically, or very close, maybe like plumbing, some type of service-based business, right? Where ironically, the people who helped me out the most with Google ads in terms of getting information were people that didn't even work with people like us. They're mostly working with like lawyers and like hospice, type of companies, things of that nature. And it was just there's a lot of information that goes into Google ads. I was actually just having a conversation with my sister-in-law about this yesterday. I was like, there's a lot up front, but once you get the bulk of everything that you need up front, it makes that journey, 1, much quicker, and 2, a lot less painless. I probably went through at least $2,000 before, if not more, when you factor in all of the money I've ever spent on Google ads. I probably spent at least $2,000, maybe even $3,000 before, not before I got a customer, but before I kind of really got it dialed in now to where our CTR is very, very high. Week to week, our CTR is now north of 4 to 8%. We'll have days where it's like even 20, like just ridiculous CTRs now. Our cost per lead and cost per acquisition are slowly but surely dropping. We're getting more qualified leads on top of that. Specifically, I would say since towards the end of February, that's really started to, I noticed, get a lot better. So that's what I would do, is just, instead of being so hyper niche in terms of my search for information on the subject of Google ads, because obviously, you want it to relate. If you could ideally just copy and paste what everyone's doing, it would make it easy, right? But a lot of times you're going to get information from other sources that may not apply to like the pest control industry for Google Ads, if that makes sense. So that's addressing it from the side of what I would do differently when it comes to Google Ads. The other side of that coin to that question where you said, what would you differently if you started today? Like I said, it could be interpreted one of two ways. So now I'm going to address the second part of how it could be interpreted, which is, what would I do differently if I were to like start my business and try to grow it from scratch today? So I would still stick with Google local services. Like that'd be the very first thing I would, outside of your Google business profile, right? I think I even did a video about this on like the 3 best ways to go about getting leads for your pest control business. If I were to rank them one by one, I would say Google local service or Google local services, Google business profile, getting that set up and getting it optimized, because you can't beat free, quote unquote, traffic, right? And then second would be Google local services. Ride that pony as much as you can while they have you up high on the list. Pro tip, answer the phone every single time. Do not do the message leads option, total waste of money, but answer the phone every single time. Only dispute leads that are legitimately, like I know my cousin the other day got a lawn care lead up in the Midwest, and it was for somebody who like broke their lawnmower and was looking for help on how to fix it. Like obviously that's a lead that you would dispute, right? But only dispute the leads that are truly disputable, if that makes sense. Answer the phone every single time. Obviously there may be times where you just can't, right? But try to answer that phone every single time, get reviews, and that'll keep you up high on the Google local service list as long as possible. And then once you evident, you eventually start to slide down that list, keep it running. But, we're talking about, like I said, he was asking about what would I do differently if I just got started. I'm kind of going off of, again, just the top 3 ways that I would go about getting leads. Like I said, get your Google business profile open and optimized. Get on Google local service ads. Make sure that, like we said, you're keeping that optimized, answering the phone calls, disputing very minimal a number of calls. And then number 3 would be Google Ads. Eventually, Google Ads will surpass Google local services. Again, we're talking about when you're first getting started in business. But eventually, Google Ads will surpass Google local services once again. Like we said, eventually you will just go down that list with time. For some reason, it just happens to just about everybody that I've talked to about Google local service ads, including myself. I haven't had a Google local service ad lead in probably 4 to 6 months now, just to put in perspective. So, eventually, like I said, Google Ads will overtake Google local services in terms of which is the best. But then, Google Ads is right behind it. From there, it doesn't really matter because those are your main 3 that you're going to focus on the most. I guess SEO for your website, that kind of goes in with the Google business profile, just overall SEO, local SEO, on-site SEO, things of that nature. Hopefully that kind of answers that question. And then I guess, like he said, how sold are you on Google Ads? I've been doing them for a while. I mean, they're still, in terms of all the advertising platforms, they're still king at the end of the day. Facebook ads, I've never really had much success with. Of course, we ran some Facebook ads. We spent a solid $1,000 to $2,000 on them. We got a lot of leads. Shout out to Adexo for that. I think I did a video review on them, even like maybe a YouTube short, if I recall. But lead quality on Facebook ads sucks compared to Google Ads. I'll say Google Ads is definitely still king when it comes to that. Shout out to My World. Good morning. How's it going? Let's see who else we got here. Sefzo, long time no see. Been super busy. Hey, I always say better super busy than super slow. I tell my customers, better that than the alternative is what I always tell them. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the stream so far, by the way. If you are, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We try to go live pretty much every single week like this. That way, we can answer any questions you may have and things of that nature. Let's see. We got Bryson Jones. Let's see. I'm waiting for my license to come back from the state, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll. That's awesome, man. Yeah, you've been following the channel for a minute, too. So, that's just another person here who, been watching the channel for a minute, and I can't wait to hear you, get your business going and, keep us updated on how you're business progresses. And of course, if you come up with any questions or anything, I know my world, we were talking about my world last week. He has been in business now for, I forget how long, about a year roughly. And he was saying that, things are rocking and rolling. He's starting to have to turn down jobs because he's just so busy. So it's cool to see you all start to do that. Let's see, how's it going there? Justin Williams, is it important to have a website before? I wouldn't say necessarily before. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, whenever I started my business, there for probably a full 7 days, I did not sleep. Like, I mean, of course I got some sleep, but me and my wife were literally just doing anything and everything to get, I had a checklist already that I knew. I was like, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, in terms of like getting just our brand out there online, creating the Facebook page, creating the Instagram page, creating the Twitter, the LinkedIn, the TikTok, the website, this, that. Like, we literally just went one by one over a period of just a few days and got them all made. The website, for example, that was not our best website by any means, but again, it at least, because when you create your Google business profile, when you can attach a website to that, your Google business profile, you're going to have a lot less issues with verifying it, Google taking it down, things of that nature, because the more information you have, a phone number, a website, things of that nature, you seem more legit to Google. So I would definitely say, website is one of the most important things that you need to get built. Now, again, like I said, you can use one of these cheap ones that you can set up. We set up our first website within a couple hours. Like, it was a Weebly, which is like Square, the company that, like, is either under or owns Square. And that way we were able to connect our website to our payment processor and things of that nature. Just to kind of get started, right? To have a website. We still use the same domain today that we got with that website, as a matter of fact. But like I said, we've had, 2 websites since then that we've built. Well, one that we built, 2 other ones overall. But yeah, no, definitely get a website as quick as possible. Don't think you need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a website, because like I said, we built ours on our own within a few hours, super easy. There's so many tools out here anymore that are very accessible, make it easier to kind of build your own website, kind of like a plug and play situation. And, you're talking setup fees of normally at the most a couple $100 to even free in some cases. Now, of course, there's plugins and things of that nature that can start adding up the more plugins you want to add to your website and things of that nature. But it's definitely important. Again, before starting a business, not necessarily. Like I said, just create a checklist of every single thing you need to be doing and get done while starting your business, and just start knocking that list out one by one. How's it going, Gardner Earth Guy? Anyone want to work under my lawn and ornamental in Florida? Can treat mosquito. Yeah, and I always say with that type of stuff, be careful with it. I'll never do it personally. Like letting someone use my license. Just definitely be careful with how you do that. I still like flyers. Yeah, like door hangers and like all that type of stuff. That still is a good method as well. A lot of times what I'll like to do is keep like door hangers in my truck. And, if I have some time, I'm getting to the point where I don't anymore, but if I have some time real quick to, what they call it, like clover leafing or whatever, where you have your customers. I always forget we got this board back here, with some new markers that I love, by the way. So, say you have your customer's house right here. We'll just put C for your customer. I don't even know if you guys can see that really. Hopefully the reflection's not bad. Like, say you're right here, this little square. What you do is, here's, the street, right? You have the next door neighbor here, someone across the street, another next door neighbor to them, next door neighbor to them. And depending on how the homes are set up, like if there's not gates and things like that, you may even be able to get people on the backside. But down here where I'm at, most of the time, you know, there's gates in between the houses in the back. So there's, unless if you go around the corner, you know, you're not gonna do it, right? So what we'd do is we'd head over to the next door neighbor, then we'd head to the guy across the street from that next door neighbor, head to that next door neighbor, go over here, and then go across, and then boom, we're right back to where we started. That's generally how, whenever we call it tagging doors. That's the process we'll do. We hit 5 doors within about a minute, depending on, again, how far apart these homes are. But yeah, it's a good way. You know, you got 1,000 flyers, right? And say every customer's home you go to, you're passing out 5 of them. You know, after about 200 stops, about a month's worth of stops, you just passed out your 1,000 flyers. Now, when it comes to testing how well they work, we always suggest passing out at the bare minimum 3,000 to 5,000. But you know, that's a lot, right? Let's see. Wow, you went above and beyond answering my questions. Yeah, no problem, Rob. Yeah, no problem. That's the whole goal here. See, Faro Pest Control. How's it going? Can you do a video on Google Analytics and understanding it in relation to your business? Yeah. I think you even might have commented on either another video or a post maybe that I posted about linking like our Google Analytics to Google Ads and CallRail. Because of course, CallRail, if you guys didn't see that video that I posted, CallRail has been having some issues with their Google Ads integration lately, which explains all the issues we've had in the past with conversion tracking and things of that nature. It seems to be working itself out. I actually got an email from them Friday that I need to check, but I've been in email back and forth communication with them, not just about that, but about connecting it with Google Analytics and, you know, just having it set up where CallRail, Google Analytics, and Google Ads are all speaking to each other. Because like I said, the straight up integration from CallRail to Google Ads just doesn't seem to be working, at least consistently, right? Which is hilarious because last week we got a call and immediately it went from CallRail straight over to Google Ads with no issue. So like I said, it's not completely broken, but it definitely doesn't work all the time. It doesn't fire for some reason all the time. So we're trying to get it set up to where everything can just go through Google Analytics, right? Because you can connect Google Analytics to Google Ads very easily, and then you connect Google Analytics to CallRail, so then that way they can all be talking through, you know, Google Ads and CallRail can be using Google Analytics as the middleman, essentially. Whole lot of technical stuff. I know, like I said, you know, once I can get that ironed out, I'll definitely try to do a video that hopefully doesn't overly complicate it, or like I said, more ideally, if CallRail can get their integration with Google Ads figured out, then that'll just make everything easier. With Google Analytics specifically, in terms of, you know, to your point on understanding it in relation to your business, you know, outside of Google Ads, right? Let's just say you want to look at your overall website analytics, right? Bounce rates, average duration on website, different events that are happening, conversion rates, all this type of stuff on your website, you know, because you can literally dive in page by page, all the analytics, and from there it just helps you make decisions on, you know, do we need to make some changes to the, speaking of Google Analytics, by the way, you guys should be using Microsoft Clarity too. There's also a paid version called Hotjar. Those are two, Microsoft Clarity is free, but Hotjar is another one that's a paid version that you can apparently see more stuff. I just use Microsoft Clarity. What Microsoft Clarity does is it will literally, from the moment someone clicks on your website, it will show you, it calls it their journey, where anytime, be it they're on the phone, on desktop, whatever the case may be, it shows when they scroll, how far they're scrolling, do they scroll back up to, you know, look at previous stuff, what other tabs are they clicking on. It just walks you through as if you are literally watching that person from over their shoulder, looking at your website. Little creepy, not gonna lie, but it does help us, especially from our advertising standpoint, when we're looking at our landing pages that we have for our business, for like Google ads or a Facebook ad or whatever the case may be. If we see that people are like scrolling a little bit and then boom, they bounce, or they see exactly what they need to see, they fill it out real quick, boom, okay, we know that page is doing great, let's leave it alone for now. Or like we said, if people are bouncing after seeing a short amount of content, then okay, maybe there's some disconnect there, and we might want to update that. Or maybe, do we need to put in some negative keywords on the Google ad? Like, honestly, I get way more out of Microsoft Clarity than I do even Google Analytics, because the analytics, it can be deceiving, especially if you get a high number of like a high amount of bot traffic. So you want to, I always say you're never going to rely on one tool at the end of the day. But like I said, if nothing else, the ones that I look at the most are like your bounce rates, average time on the website. What else do I look at a lot? Of course, like conversion rates, like how often are people submitting forms? How often are people, hitting the call button? Things of that nature. But like I said, none of these tools at the end of the day are gonna like be your saving grace. Like it's taking all the data and everything that you see from all these different tools and just making decisions based off of that. Gardner Earth says a application flag can go a long way in advertising. Yeah, and we also use those as well. The company we use, I believe, is called Blackburn Flag. Let me double check here. Blackburnflag.com is actually who we use. I actually need to get some more purchase because it usually takes them about 2 weeks to send them to us. But yeah, I mean, they're very, very, very cheap, especially when you start buying them in bulk. And like what we'll do is we'll have a separate, through CallRail, a separate call tracking number, and we'll put that phone number on our flags or whatever type of print advertising we're using. So then that way we can know for a fact that, okay, yeah, that call came from someone, seeing our door hanger, or somebody seeing flyers, or somebody seeing those flags in the yard, whatever the case may be. 100%, yeah, that can be good as well. In the front yard, obviously. How's it going, Aaron Tucker? Hey, Griffin, I have a mouse job where they are avoiding bait and traps. Oh, they want some fairy dust, huh? Yet there are consistent droppings, and even found a mouse in a pillowcase while sleeping. I mean, you could go the exclusion route, of course. Of course, I haven't seen the house. I don't know anything about the house or anything. But if they're not wanting to do traps, they're not wanting to do bait stations, that pretty much means the only other potential option would be exclusion. Now, like I said, I don't know. I haven't even seen this house, so I can't tell you if an exclusion service would even help. But, that's for you to decide. And also, do you know how to do exclusion service is a whole nother question that I could, counter to you for this example. But, if they're not wanting to do traps or stations, your only other option is going to be sealing up, doing a rodent exclusion job. Which even then, I always like to set some traps. Like I always tell people, we don't know if anything's in the home, in the attic, whatever the case may be at the time of doing a seal up. So we like to set a couple traps generally to feel out that activity, right? Usually within a few days, they'll go right to the traps for the most part. How's it going, Daniel Menard? When is the best time of day to go talk to commercial businesses to offer pet? Honestly, from my experience, cold calling is usually going to be best in terms of going in. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to. There is something to be said to like go in person and shake a hand with a business owner. Like, especially if you're going into like another mom and pop shop, right? Or a boutique, or, any smaller business where, there's a very, very high chance of either the owner or the managers making the decisions being there. Like if you have that hunch, definitely go in there during business hours, right? Generally, I wouldn't say first thing in the morning, right? I wouldn't say 8 a.m., 7 a.m., even 9 a.m. I would say usually after 9:30, because you got to think, right? Say, you're a pest control business, right? Usually the first hour or two in some cases of our day, what do? We come in, we're looking at, did we get any leads overnight? Did we get any callbacks overnight? Do we need to adjust some marketing before we get the day started? Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the morning that us as business owners got to take care of, right? So, why, like, you got to think, would we appreciate somebody calling us or whatever the case may be the first hour or two that we're open? Probably not, right? Why do you think, those of you that are already in business, you probably experienced this. Why do you think usually after about 11 to noon, we get a shit ton of spam calls from these, SEO companies that you never heard of? The dude sounds like he's got a thick Indian accent and this and that, right? They know that their best chance to get you on the phone is usually after the morning hours, generally speaking. So if you're going to go more that traditional, hey, I want to go into the place of business, talk to somebody, I would say go in there no earlier than probably about 10 a.m. And then probably no later than about 2. I would say 10 to 2. And again, it depends on the business, right? There's restaurants that, I have a restaurant that I treat in Plano, Texas, that they close, I believe, from, man, when do they close? It's like 2 to 3 or 2 to 4, some random time in the middle of the day they close. They have a lunch, they have lunch hours and then dinner hours, and they'll close for like 2 hours or something like that. And, obviously you wouldn't want to go try to pitch them when they're closed, right? So obviously there's situations that are different, but if I were to put an average on it, I'd probably say no earlier than 10 a.m., no later than probably 2 or 3. Because, once you start getting later in the afternoon, business owners, they're busy people just like us, right? And they got to go. They got stuff they got to go do, right? Or they may have kids to go pick up from school, whatever the case may be. So I would say your hottest time would be 10 to 2. Same thing even with cold calling them. If you're going to try to get bigger accounts, I would cold call probably around that same window, 10 to 2. And again, that's just my opinion, my experience on that. Usually I just let them call me, but yeah, if I were to, start cold calling them, that is the window that I'd be going after. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. Do you usually need a soliciting license to give out door hangers? Not in my area. Well, it depends on if you run into a Karen. I don't look into all the law, like, because here's the thing. When I personally do door hangers, like how I showed you all how we'll tag, like, surrounding the customer's house, right? When I do that, I'm not knocking on the door or anything. I just, if they're outside, I'll just, hey, how's it going? Kind of feel them out, see if they're maybe interested. But if like if I can't tell if someone's home or not, well, actually that doesn't even matter. Like, if I'm just tagging doors, I'm not knocking, right? Like, I'm not knocking then tagging. I'm literally just tagging the door. So, I don't, it's not that I don't care. I'm just, if someone's gonna be a Karen about that type of situation, then let them go off at the end of the day. It's not a big deal to me. As far as I know, in most of the areas that I work in, the only thing you need a quote unquote like license for is, specifically door knocking. But of course, you're going to have some areas that are different. So, of course, by all means, feel free to check out each different city. And sometimes even like if there's like where I live, it's a big giant HOA with a couple thousand houses. In the neighborhood, it's like literally almost half of the city of Rowlett. Sometimes neighborhoods that are HOA ran even have their own policy too. So, definitely, cross-reference that type of stuff if you're kind of worried about it. If you're someone like me that's like, I don't really care, then, do you. That's up to you as the business owner at the end of the day. And like I said, there's no like nationwide thing either. It's going to be, city to city for the most part. Do you recommend advertising to target phones rather than yeah, okay, yeah, that's actually a good point. So the setup that I have right now on my Google Ads, oh man, it's making me log back in. Give me just a second. So what I did was, this is how I've actually had it for a while now, as a matter of fact. I want to say for at least the last month or two now, since sometime in January, if I recall. Because of course, like I'm sure you know, Faro Pest Control, I'm sure you know, like you can go in there and do like what they call manual adjustment bids based on the device type. I'm trying to see if I can find that real quick. Advanced bid adjustments. So I do have a bid adjustment of plus 5% on phone calls. Let's see, I'm trying to find the devices and things of that nature. Let's see, I'm in the campaign. And they're always changing locations of crap on Google Ads. That is one thing that I will say can be annoying, is how often they're like updating the layout and where things are. But yeah, I mean, in short, I can tell you because I remember what I set those at. What I did was, like I said, we got plus 5% on the phone call extensions. So what phone call extension, of course, is whenever you're looking at, I'll kind of draw it out real quick, just as an example. Let's see if we can see if y'all see better right here. So let's say this is like, what people see on their phone, right? This is your, your quote unquote phone screen. And let's just say their search up here is, pest control, right? So that's the search bar up there. And then let's say, of course, you got your ad, dot, 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 right there. Right below here, you have your phone number. That's your phone extension. So you have your ad, and then right below it, there's a phone number that they can click on. That's your phone extension. That is what I'm referring to when I say that we put a plus 5% on the phone call extension. Because Google, whenever you set up your ad, you have a bunch of different what they call assets, and Google's algorithm will, depend on what you select, we let their algorithm do that. They will find out what the best, in terms of CTR, conversion rate, this and that, which of your ad combinations performs the best. And we're letting them know by putting a bid adjustment of 5% that, hey, we're putting emphasis on we want phone calls from this campaign. So we put that at 5%. And then in terms of overall traffic, we put tablets minus 80% because tablets pretty much, they never convert. I've never had a single converter from a tablet. So we said minus 80%. Like we're pretty much getting no traffic, and if we do, it's like $2 a click for the traffic on tablets. For desktop, I think we did minus 25%, if I recall. So instead of for example, a $10 per click, we're only willing to pay, $7.50. Not that that's what we have our bid set at. I'm just saying, so you know how the theory works out. And then for phones, we did plus 10%. So instead of a $10, we're saying we're willing to pay 11, or instead of 20, we're willing to pay, 22, right? So that's kind of the structure of what we got. That's, kind of the basics of how we have it set up there. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see what else we got. How's it going, Raheem? We got a lot of Williams in the chat today. How's it going there, Raheem Williams? What do I need first to start a pest control business? The basics, of course, are going to be your certified applicator license, which usually for most people means you're going to go work for a business for at least 1 to 2 years as a technician. I compare it a lot to like electricians and things of that nature, HVAC, where you start out as like an apprentice. Some states you go straight to technician. Here in Texas, you start out as an apprentice, you take the test to become a technician, and then after a year or more of being a technician, you can take the certified applicator exam. Once you pass certified applicator and you have certified applicator license, you could go start your own business. Of course, from there, you're going to need pest control specific business insurance, which a lot of people get hung up on that. They don't realize that, basic I guess we'll just call it basic insurance, business insurance, can a lot of times be very, very different than pest control liability insurance. So make sure you're specifically getting with an insurance provider that knows that, yes, this is a pest control policy, pest and termite. Usually you'll know right away if you have a good company that specifically works with pest control companies, because they'll ask you, what type of services do you provide? Do you do just general pests, or do you do bed bug? Do you do termite? Do you do wildlife? Like, what they want to know, everything that you do. That way it's all covered in your policy. And then from there, the basic stuff. If you want to open up an LLC, do an LLC, DBA, do a DBA. A lot of times you'll need to also register with your Secretary of State office. And yeah, that's kind of the basics, right? And then, of course, before you hire an employee specifically, or I even say before you label your truck, because once your truck is labeled, you'll notice it becomes a idiot magnet. And when I say idiot magnet, I don't mean idiot necessarily. I mean more so moochers, people that are hoping you hit them so they can get a payday from your insurance company, which leads to another point: get a dash cam. I've been procrastinating getting one. I'm going to put that up here so I don't forget, because I keep just forgetting. When you're a business owner, you just forget to do stuff. So stuff that you see is, low priority, right? Get a dash cam. And then that leads to my final point: get business auto insurance, or I think it's called commercial auto to be exact. But yeah, from there, you have all of your kind of legal stuff in place, and, you're good to go. My first ever customer was Indian. I did an interior treatment and never got paid. Man, you know what I'd be doing in my world? I'd be walking over there. Give me my damn money. Hell's the matter with you? I don't do well with not getting paid. I do not get paid. The closest I've had to not getting paid was, ironically, someone that lives like 5 minutes from us. And the dude, it was just a one-time service. Shocker. Those are always the red flag ones for the most part anyways. And they had just moved in, and he was like, hey, I got to go pick up, rest of our stuff. How much is it? I told him, and he was like, here's part of it. It was like pretty much right at half of it in cash. And send me the invoice, and I'll just do debit credit card for the rest. And he seemed honest and everything. So me being naive, I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. I'd already got his signature on the invoice too. So like, I wasn't really worried about getting paid. And, next thing I know, like 3 months went by and he didn't pay it. I saw it in my Gorilla Desk CRM that he hadn't paid it. And I hit him up a few times. And then finally, after it was probably like going on 4 months, I was like, hey, if you don't pay this, I'm gonna have to turn it into collections. And he never did respond. So one day I went and knocked on the door. Like I said, I mean, hey, I'm getting paid. Like, it just, I don't do well with people trying to screw you as the business, especially as a small business. You want to go fuck somebody, go fuck a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't believe in fucking people at all. But, if you're going to pull that kind of stuff, go do it to a big, huge company that doesn't really care either way. Like, they'll just send it into collections and move on with their life. Don't do it to small companies that are literally in your own backyard, that, the quote-unquote mom and pop shops. Like, I always say, like, would you go into a bakery in your hometown, a little mom and pop bakery, and, they give you the food, and then would you just walk out? Like, if so, you're a piece of shit. But I'm assuming 99.99% of people, the answer is hell no. So why would you do that to someone who provided a good service for you for a reasonable price already? Like, I just don't get where anyone would think that's okay. I could go off on a whole other tangent on, that's where we're at in this fucking country right now. But I'll save that for another podcast episode. Mohammed said, please what? Did I miss a comment? Let's see. I don't see nothing from you, Mohammed. If I missed something, let me know. I see where it says please. And I see we got about a dozen of y'all tuning in right now. Hopefully y'all are enjoying the stream. If you are, do me a favor, smash thumbs up, smash the hearts, whatever the case may be. I appreciate it so much. And if you're not already subscribed, of course, go ahead and subscribe. If you have any questions and you're wondering, in general, who the heck is this guy? Like I said, my name is Griffin Thomas. I own my own pest control company here in the Dallas, Texas area, Preferred Pest Management. We've been in business, like I said, 3.5 years. We're in our 4th full year of owning our business. We took that business from 0 to 6 figures our first year, and now we're just kind of getting ready. We've been plateaued for, I say plateau, we've technically still been growing at a pretty decent rate when you think of in terms of percentages, just not as fast as, my goals are at least. And we've had 1099 employees. We've had one for sure. Yeah, 2 1099 and 1 W-2 employee. Ended up kind of just actually the 1099 guy ended up moving to a whole nother state because his life is kind of like he's had some shakeup in his life recently, and he just needed like a change of scenery or something, I guess. But which is why I'm doing the exclusion work again. Thankfully, I grew up in a construction background. Otherwise, we'd be screwed on exclusions right now. And the W-2 guy it did not work. Which it was a blessing in disguise because we had some financial stuff come up almost immediately after going ahead and letting him go. That I was like, I'm glad we didn't have that employee on payroll still, because it'd make us very, 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 very cash strapped, to say the least. But that I just document my overall journey for you guys. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. And then of course, like we said, these Q&As for those of you that are new, they're as they sound, Q&A. I come on here once a week, go live for usually at the minimum 30 minutes to an hour, just to kind of answer your all's questions. Doesn't even have to be just about pest control business, anything business, investing. If you look through the channel, we have almost 800 videos now, just from all sorts of stuff. So any questions you all have, that is what we are here for. Let's see. What company do you recommend for pest control insurance? We use Lipka right now. This is our, 3rd year now of using Lipka, and they've been pretty well to us. A lot of people complain about their pricing. For us this last year, it was pretty much right at $1,000, like $900 to $1,000 for the year, if I recall. And whenever I compare it to other companies, they might be $100 more per year. How I look at it is they've been good to us for now 3 years. They have contracts so you can literally plug and play in your CRM, edit them very easily, things of that nature. They're one of the largest in the industry for a reason. They've been around for a long time. They're here for you. They're not a bad company or anything. So, for an extra roughly $100 a year, you're talking $8 to $9, like $9 a month. I'm not really gonna complain too much about it, but that's who we use. Like I said, we're in year 3 of using them. Another one that I hear commonly is, I think, Markle. We've never used Markle. Markle actually quoted us higher than Lipka too, by the way. So the one time I did request a quote from them, they were way higher, like $300 a year. So, like I said, I don't mind $100, 50, 100, even 150. You're talking like $9, $10 a month, but 300, you're pushing 25, $30 a month more expensive. So it takes a lot for me to justify that big of a difference. Daniel said, how low do you quote clients over the phone to not scare them away without undercutting yourself? I'm assuming you're talking about German cockroach. So German cockroach, I actually just had one I quoted that we sold over the weekend. I get a feel for it over the phone. How bad is it? They're, for the most part, not too shy about telling you, like, oh, we've been dealing with this for months. As soon as I hear months, I'm like, yeah, this shit's bad, right? So I have a little gauge, essentially, based on what they tell me, which you'll build that gauge after hundreds of phone calls. It's hard to really explain it. You just kind of, you hear the same 2 to 5 different things over and over. Oh, this isn't bad. Oh, this is horrible. Oh, this is average, right? Like you kind of build a gauge based on what people tell you. And like the one I did this week, or I didn't do it, I sold it this weekend, was I told them, you can pay for 3 treatments up front. That'll be $675 plus tax. And again, this is German roach specifically, not general pests. Because I know a lot of times I'll say that and people are like, damn, how do you get that? How do you get people to pay that? And I'm like, it's German roach. It's way different than general pests. But I'll tell them, most customers, when it comes to German roaches, take at least 3 treatments at the minimum. So if you would want to go ahead and pay for your 3 treatments up front, that's going to be $675. And if you're going to go ahead and go the treatment by treatment route, we don't suggest that, because a lot of times people will, I'll just be upfront with them like I did the other night. I said a lot of times people will think that we're going to spray magic dust and get rid of them after 1 treatment, and then they call us up 6 months later and the issue's back, and we just don't want to do that dance with you, essentially. I was like, but if you want to do that, then it's $279 plus tax every time we come out. So you end up saving well over $100 if you go ahead and commit to the 3 treatments up front. If you're looking at a price per treatment perspective, it saves you over $100 over those 3 treatments. And that dude, for the first time, almost every time they go with the 3 treatment plan. And then like I tell them, if for some reason after 3 treatments we can't get rid of them, we knock it down to $195, because at that point we take some accountability as well, and we're like, hey, we should be getting rid of this issue by now. But point being, that's kind of how we'd pitch it. And again, I'm assuming, because you said cockroach treatment specifically, I'm assuming you're talking about German cockroach. So if you're talking general pests, let me know. We can talk about that as well. But we're just real with them. I don't, like you said, you don't want to undercut yourself. So, if it scares them off, it scares them off. Like, I'm not gonna, because like I always tell them, I would rather get you over, the sticker shock is what we call sticker, the sticker price or whatever. We'd rather get you over that shock and, you just say, hey, I'm going to go price around, than potentially, what's the old term, bait and switch, tell you one price and then get to your door and be like, oh, well, I didn't know it was this bad. Like, now that it's this bad, I know I told you it was only going to cost $175, but this is going to be $275. Like, talk about an easy way to, one, waste your time, because, if it's someone like me, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you trying to bait and switch me, like, get out of here, right? And also bad reviews, bad because people talk. And one way to ruin your brand so quickly is to bait and switch somebody. Like, I cannot, and companies will try to say, oh, it's not bait and switch. Well, it's bait and switch. Like, if you're not confident in the price that you're going to be able to give over the phone, then don't give a price over the phone. Just schedule a free inspection, close the inspection. That way you're at least there, because that's another thing. What I find is 80-90% of the time we can at least close an inspection. We pretty much close the sale regardless of the price, because we're already there. We tell them, yeah, you want to go ahead and do this. We got stuff, do it right now. Like, you want to go ahead and do this? We can get started. Like, if you're not confident in that whole pricing aspect, then go ahead, like we said, just close the inspection. Do the whole free inspection route. For the most part, I don't have to do that anymore. We do it on exclusions and termite, obviously, because you really don't have a choice. But that's hopefully that kind of answers that question. Let's see. Raheem, is it mandatory for me to work under a company? I passed my general pest control exam already. Do you have experience already? Like, did you work for one in the past? And another thing too is, it depends on your state. Every state is different. I always suggest go to your state's Department of Agriculture website. They will have information on the website about, the specifications that you need to meet, or the criteria, I guess is the word I was looking for, that you need to meet in order to become eligible to like start your own pest control company. And if for some reason, because I know some of these Department of Agriculture websites get kind of funky, if for some reason you can't find it, just call them up this week. It's usually super easy to get a hold of them, and they'll give you kind of a step. Sometimes they'll even email you information about it. So that's what I would suggest. But yeah, How's it going, Mr. Echo? Do you charge a fee just to go out there for your company, or do you do free estimates? Yeah, for the most part, we'll do free estimates. Now, if I can tell someone's wasting our time and just looking for that cheapest company, I'll tell them two things. Like, so a lot of times, again, another example of usually they're very upfront with you about it. They'll say, yeah, like I had one guy, we were texting back and forth about an exclusion service, quoting him, and he was like, yeah, I told him a time I could come out. He's like, well, I actually have another company coming out at that time. If you could do later in the day, that'd be great. Just don't want it to be awkward. And of course, I'm looking for the best price. And I just replied back and I was like, well, sir, to be honest, if you're looking for quote unquote the best price, meaning the lowest price, that's not going to be us. I was like, at the end of the day, we always ask people, are you looking for the best price or are you looking for the best solution? I was like, if you're looking for the best solution, we're the company for you. But if you're looking for that cheapest price, that's not going to be us because we don't sacrifice our quality to meet cheap budgets and things of that nature. So if that company that comes out gives you a quote that seems reasonable to you, I would go ahead and do it. And, if after they come out, if you think that you still want us to come out, then by all means, let us know. But again, it's all about setting expectations because you know what? After that, didn't hear from the guy again. So, again, are you going to it's all about, you got to qualify the customer as much as they're qualifying you. Like I always talk about on this channel, not every customer is the right customer for your business, and not every business is the right business for a customer. So, that's okay. That comes back to the whole limiting beliefs and a limited scarcity mindset. You got to realize that there's more than enough people out here for you to build a very, 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 very successful company. But you got to realize what type of company you want to be. Do you want to be the cheapest company? Do you want to be the most expensive? Or do you just simply want to be the best? Like I tell people, we're definitely not the most expensive, but we're the best. So therefore, we're not the cheapest. So that's how we go about it. And then if for some reason they're just kind of, which does happen occasionally, if they're like, yeah, I definitely want you to come out and I appreciate that. Then I hit them with, okay, yeah, no problem. We can set that up. How our inspections work is if you sign up with us for any type of service after the inspection, while we're there, then there's no inspection fee. However, if we come out there, we give you, a quote and tell you about all the services we have to offer. And for whatever reason, you decide you don't want to work with us, that's totally fine. It's just a $75 plus tax inspection fee. And you notice we don't beat people over the head. I mean, you can make that number whatever you want, but we don't beat people over the head with it. Like I hear some people have a 125, a 100, a 50. We pick 75 just because, I factor in, of course, like I always mention on this channel, I don't think about just my time. I think about employees' time. I'm always thinking about the future. How much is it going to cost me to send somebody out there? Not just that, but if they're not willing to pay, if they're not willing to commit enough to be like, yeah, I mean, that's reasonable. Like, if I'm not going to sign up for something, then I can pay them for their time at least. Then, again, that's somebody that does not fit our culture in terms of a potential customer, if that makes sense. So that's how we go about the whole inspection process. How many employees does your company have? Where'd that go? Oh, how many employees does your company have, and do you give benefits to your employees? Oh, so I think I might have, I don't know if you just tuned in, I think I might even already answered that whenever I was just giving like my little summary of my company and whatnot. We had a couple 1099s and we had a W-2. 1099 ended up moving, so we don't have him anymore. The W-2 I ended up pretty much terminating after like 1 month because I could just tell it wasn't going to work. And like I said, it actually worked out for the better because, we had a couple pretty big expenses this past year that were, of course, unexpected. Life of entrepreneurship, business ownership, right? Constantly getting kicked in the balls every day to some degree. but yeah, it would have made making payroll and just everything very, very, very stressful. Part of that is on me as well. You guys that have been around for a while, see, we got a lot of new faces today. Shout out to you all too, by the way. But those of you that have been on my content, seen my stuff for a while, you all know that we moved into this house that I'm in right now almost a year ago, and we're getting ready to move out in May, and May would have been 1 year, and that was a mistake. We made a mistake, and I say we, me specifically, as the head of household, made a mistake moving into this house. It took way too much money out of the business that could be going to employee benefits, even simple stuff like advertising, office space. We're talking $2,000 a month. I mean, we're talking a huge difference for a company that's doing six figures. $2,000 a month is a big deal. You're talking $20,000-$30,000 a year extra that we're spending, that I made a bad judgment call in making, more so out of not fear, but we had already put in a notice that we were moving from our previous home, and we were down to like 10 days before we had to move. And we found this house. It was like literally less than a mile from where we were living, and it hit every checkbox. It had the nice pool and spa, nice patio, 5 bedrooms when we were only aiming for 4 in the first place. Whole point being, made a bad judgment call out of, again, not fear, but more so just running up against the clock in terms of finding a place. And, went over budget a little bit, and that kind of put a strain on the business for the last probably 6 to 10 months. We're starting to slowly but surely get out, the lights at the end of the tunnel, and we're getting past that little hurdle, but that definitely held us back because you guys know, obviously I'd hired an employee and things of that nature, but it was a blessing in disguise. Like I said, looking back on everything, that things did not work out with that employee, because we'd be in a very, very, very stressed situation after those 2 or 3 big expenses that cost thousands of dollars. But yeah, I mean that's business, that's life, right? It's all there's no cookie cutter approach to business and life and this and that. Like, it's all about making adjustments, and I always say, you gotta have enough intelligence to just not keep fucking up, right? Like, if you do something wrong once, it's like, I compare it to touching a hot stove, right? You touch that hot stove once, you're like, God damn, I ain't gonna do that again. But guess what? You a dumb motherfucker if you do it 2, 3, 4, over and over and over. And that same thing with business. Like, you make a mistake, you learn from it, you don't do it again. You may make a mistake twice, but you damn sure better not make it 3 times. Because if you're the type that's going to make the same mistakes over and over and over, I don't care how book smart you are. I don't care how hard of a worker you are. Like, you can't outwork stupidity. You can't outsmart. That kind of sounds counterintuitive, but you cannot outthink stupidity. And that's what it is. When you do the same dumb stuff over and over and over, that's stupidity. That's, what's the other term? Definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, and, thankfully I'm the type where when I get burned once, I don't get burnt twice. So, that definitely held us back. But like I always talk about this channel, I'm always open about the things that work and things that don't work. That way, hopefully you guys learn from someone else that's doing it. That way it can save you, in this case, probably 2 years, when I factor in the money that we could have made by not adjusting lifestyle by $2,000 to $3,000 a month over the last year. Putting that money back in the business, I'd probably have 2 or 3, if not more, full-time, I don't know about more, probably 2, 3 at the most, full-time employees within that last year. So it definitely cost us at least 1 to 2 years of growth over one dumb decision. So, yeah, to answer that question and give you all the full beats on everything, let's see, how's it going? Joe, is it Bussard? Sound like a solopreneur. How do you balance your work? Oh boy, my favorite subject right here. Work-life balance. I should pull my wife in for this question because she'll tell you I'm horrible. I'm horrible, horrible, horrible at it. I will say I've been making strides recently. I'm using my phone for this stream. I use an app now called, I think it's called like Family Calendar. It is a paid app technically. I think it's like $20 a year. And now me and my wife have gotten on the same page about, this literally just happened. I mean, I've had the app for 2 or 3 months now, but we had kind of a, little husband wife get together, little come to Jesus meeting about doing stuff together as a family, this and that more often. And she knows now, like, hey, if there's something just out of the blue that she wants us to do, wants me to be included on, outside of, the basic stuff, right? Not just literally basic stuff like dinner and stuff, but just anything. Like, I'm like, I have a very detailed schedule because, like you said, kind of doing it all right now, my schedule is very, very, very detailed throughout the day. She knows that if there's something that she wants us to do, even something as simple as, hey, let's go to the grocery store as a family, or let's, just me and you go, watch a movie together downstairs, whatever the case may be, she will now put that on the family calendar, and it notifies me as soon as she does. It notifies me a day before the event, notifies me an hour, 5 minutes. Like, there's literally no reason essentially for me to not etch out that time that she wants and needs as my spouse, if that makes sense. And that's just addressing the whole spouse side of it. She does the same thing for even stuff with the kids. Like, if she wants me to do like because we have a daughter that is 4 years old and a daughter that's not even a year old yet. So if she wants me to handle bath time or something of that nature, she'll even put stuff like that in there. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that go like, it's kind of irresponsible on your part as the dad, as the husband, this and that. I mean, I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm just telling y'all what's working for us, what's making our lives better from the whole work-life balance side, because, to a degree that is, being married to a quote-unquote business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call yourself. There's a lot of teamwork that has to go into that. It can't just be an expectation of, oh, well, you should, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, we've had plenty just being upfront with you guys about that. We've had our, like I said, little bump ins, plenty of them, where, she was programmed because of how our society is that, this should just be expected. And she's kind of I'm not going to say finally, but she has kind of come around to the fact that, like, hey, I'm with this highly driven individual who has a bunch of goals, has a bunch of stuff, not just goals and all that, but like just a very detailed schedule, very detailed day and things. And don't get me wrong, she keeps me honest too, because she'll be like, I don't see what the big deal is. You're not doing shit right now. Like, you're telling me you need to do this, this, and this, and go do it. Like, don't be sitting around here BSing on TikTok and shit like that. Like, go do it then. Like it's good because it keeps me honest at the same time. So, it's one of those things. It's a constant work in progress. It takes a lot of communication. Man, if you're single, Joe Bussar, if you happen to be single, which I'm sure you're not if you're asking this question, but for those of you that are single, take it in, go all in while you can, because once you start adding in even just a spouse, a fiance, girlfriend, whatever the case may be, or if you're a woman, right, a boyfriend, husband, etc., a spouse at the end of the day, just adding that piece alone, you only got 24 hours in a day. You can only take so much of your sleep away, right? Like, at the end of the day, you've only got about 20 to 18 hours at the most that you can put into the business, work out, eat right, spend with your spouse. Then you put kids in the mix too, spend time with kids, go to kids events. Like, there's only so much time in a day, so you got to be very disciplined and very detailed with how you go about scheduling your days, your weeks, etc. So, like I said, I mean, to a large degree, I don't even believe in work-life balance, but if you're going to try to achieve at least some level of work-life balance, It's going to be a constant work in progress. It's going to take a lot of discipline. It's going to take a lot of communication. That would be the main things. And there's seasons to it too. Last point on the whole work-life balance thing. There's seasons to it too, is what I found. Like, there's seasons where kids are in school, your wife's got her own stuff going on. Guess what? You can really lean into the business and go all in, right? And then there's seasons where, say summertime, right? Kids are out of school, this and that and the other. And, your wife or, whoever tends to deal with the kids the most may need your help in some of these categories. Like, there's seasons to it all too. It's never just a cookie cutter, every day is going to be like this. One day you may have a full 18 hours or so to go all in business. And then there may be days where you can't do shit business wise at all. And, it just kind of is what it is, right? So there's ebb and flows to it. Like I said, main thing is building some discipline, over communicating. The less you communicate, you'll notice more and more of those bump ins. My wife, like I said, I could pull my wife in, and I'm sure she'd attest to that. Whenever we're not communicating well, that's when it can really start to get kind of rocky as a business owner. So hopefully that kind of helps answer that question. And that's not even, like you said, just for solopreneurs. That's, for anybody, regardless of what stage of business you're at. I've been facing challenges in recruiting employees as larger companies offer higher salaries and superior benefits. How do you effectively compete with such organizations? Like what the approach I'm taking now is I'm going all in, doing it all myself until we get to a point to where we can compete, if that makes sense. We may not be able to compete necessarily from a benefit side of it, but can we compete monetarily, in terms of the hourly wage, the commission, more days off maybe. Like, you just got to find what your company can do. And then say, because you're, like you said, you're recruiting them. Like, if you can at least get in front of them, you better be putting on your best A game as just as much, if not more, than they're giving you in terms of the interview itself. Like, you need to go in there and tell them just the straight up truth. Like, hey, this is where we are at as a company right now. We need individuals that want to help us grow this company, because guess what? The more the company grows, the more your compensation is going to grow. We're going to get a better benefit package in here. Like, we want to take care of you. As long as, there's going to be constant, and let them know, like, there's going to be constant communication between us too. Like, hey, we're here right now. We're going to add in this benefit. We're going to add in this. We're going to add, like, whenever you're not already a super large company, you have, building blocks, right? Like, you're not just jumping into this billion-dollar vehicle where, I compare it to like supercars versus like Honda Civics, right? Like, you're going from a bicycle as a solo operator to a Honda Civic as a now business owner with employees, right? Because, as a bicycle, you just got you, yourself, and you, right? Now you're in the Honda Civic, you got room for another 1 to 3 guys, 1 to 4 guys maybe. And then once that Honda Civic gets too squished, okay, now we're jumping into, what's the next thing, I guess? Like a really souped up, nice minivan, so you just went from a $100, $200 bike to a $5,000, or I guess with inflation now, probably $10,000 car, to now a $30,000, $40,000 minivan, and now you got room for like 6 to 8 guys. And, it might even be a bad analogy. I don't know. I hope you guys see where I'm going with that whole analogy. Point being, things get better as, the company grows. And as the company grows, the salaries, the benefits, the time off, this and that and the other, it's all going to improve. So, again, it's all about communicating what to expect. Where a lot of guys are going to go wrong and do go wrong is they just kind of say the bare minimum to get somebody on, and then they're like, shit, why do I have such high turnover? Well, because you're not setting realistic expectations on what to set on, what to expect as an employee. That's why a lot of sales businesses go through a lot of employees. When bringing in these sales guys are like, oh man, you're gonna go make you sell this amount, you're gonna make $1 million with us. But then the company's doing like $500,000 a year. How the hell is that employee gonna go make $1 million when the company's not even making half of that, right? Like, it's just setting those expectations, being honest, and showing that you care, because people are tired of work. You can see it all over social media. People are tired of working for these big companies where they feel like just a literal number. A lot of these places you go work at, they even give you an employee number now. So they literally just see you as a number. Like, people are getting tired of that shit. They're getting tired of that life. So if you can express to them that, like, we care about our people, like, we are a family, a true family, not that bullshit where, oh, we're one big happy family. Not that BS, right? We're talking true, like, hey, you're like my brother, my sister, whatever the case may be. I want to take care of you. This is where we're at right now. This is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there. And then from there, it's up to them if they buy into your goal, your mission, and your vision more than anything. And if they do, they'll be willing to do that at the end of the day. And then, of course, you got to keep up your end of the agreement, because if you tell them all this stuff, then, you better deliver, right? And like I said, constant communication. Lawyers are paid $250 an hour. I'm not in the right field of work. Oh, God. Yeah, those type of people usually aren't clients very long. They don't see the value of the service. Yeah, they don't see. Yeah, I don't really, I just kind of chuckle along and go, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Most people can't understand, which is why most people aren't, pest control technicians or pest control business owners, that type of thing. How do you get the trucks for pest control, and how do you handle them? I mean, like my truck, for example, I just went and got a standard pickup truck, and then I went to a place near me called Pesco Pumps. Shout out to them. They're in the Garland, Texas area, which is like East Dallas, kind of northeast Dallas. And they have a lot of good rig setups for very affordable too. And they'll get it all set up for you and that kind of thing. And how do you handle them? Really, there's not a lot of maintenance that goes into the rig setups that I get either. Occasionally, if it freezes on accident, we don't keep it all winterized the right way, then maybe, where your filter is, that little coupling or whatever, sometimes it'll crack and break, and we got to take it in to get it replaced for like $20 real quick. But generally speaking, and it may be just because I'm in the South and we don't deal with a lot of freezing temperatures. For example, it's 80 degrees right now, 81 at the very beginning of March. We don't deal with a lot of like really extremely cold temperatures, so that might factor in and make it a little easy on us. But it's relatively easy, I'll say. And yeah, we just take the trucks to a company locally here as well that labels trucks, and they charge us usually about $300 or so to, I don't want to say wrap it. It's not really a wrap that we get. We just get decal. I mean, it's still a wrap, but it's not a wrap. It's just like our logo real big across the doors on the side, our TPCL license number on the front fenders, phone number across the back fenders, and then on the back, our website with a smaller version of our logo, and then like a QR code that if someone's behind us at a stoplight, they can scan it, it'll take them straight to the website. What else is on there? I think our phone number again in slightly smaller print. And yeah, that's pretty much how that train rolls. But yeah, we actually got us a house showing getting ready to start up here in the next 10 minutes roughly. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this stream up. It's hard to believe we've already been on for almost an hour and a half too. I appreciate y'all, as always, for tuning in. If you did enjoy this stream so far, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button. I know a lot of y'all already have. I see we got like, 10 likes, it looks like. But if you enjoyed the stream, do me a favor, smash the thumbs up button. Share it with somebody if you think somebody could benefit from the stream or from the channel in general. Because I don't, advertise the the channel or anything like that. And of course, if you have any questions after this goes from a live stream to a video, don't hesitate to shout it out in the comments down below. And of course, feel free to check out the links in my description box. Anything that I talk about on this channel, usually I have some sort of link to it in the description box, be it, Gorilla Desk CRM, different tools that I'll use for like rodent exclusion work and wildlife services. I try to link up pretty much everything possible for you guys. And if you think I'm missing something, shout it out in the comments and I'll try to, comment back to you with a link that may be able to help as well. And yeah, otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next stream. I believe I have a video coming out for you guys this week. I forget which day. It depends how much it takes for me to edit and everything, but hoping to have a video out this week. And then of course we'll do our weekly live stream again later this weekend. So as always, I appreciate y'all. If you haven't already, subscribe below, hit the bell icon, all that fun stuff. Join our Discord group, Facebook group. Those are also in my link tree, which is in the description down below. They're free to join. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a good rest of your weekend and have a great week.